Good morning, class. Today we are going to finish that pink paper. We have two problems left. The problem that says airplane, and then the problem on the other side, it says soccer practice. So airplane, we're going to go over together in the video part of it, and soccer practice will be the problem that you complete on your own. So yesterday you were supposed to have completed the concession stand problem with the video. We went over these questions in class, and you were supposed to have completed school fundraiser on your own. If not, make sure you complete that because this is for a grade. When we look at the airplane problem, should notice differences from how we approach the problem from yesterday and today. In yesterday's concession stand problem, you were given two rates. So the $1 for the hot dogs and the 50 cents for the sodas, and we also had a total. In the airplane problem and the soccer practice problem, we only have one rate, and we also have another value that we'll talk about what that value is. So let's read the problem. It says an airplane, this number, 30,000 feet. We need to change that. So go ahead and change that on your paper to 300,000 feet. So 300,000. So an airplane 300,000 feet above the ground begins descending at a rate of 2,000 feet per minute. So instead of us having three numbers in our problem like before, where two of them are rates and one of them was a total, in this problem we only have one rate, and it actually tells you what the rate is. So that is a little more straightforward. You may not always be told the rate, but in this particular problem, our rate, which hopefully you're realizing that that is the slope in this particular problem, because a rate is another indication or another way to look at slope. We have 2,000 feet per minute. And so I'm going to write down this is my slope. And since that it is descending, that should tell us that the rate is either positive or negative. The $300,000 number, so this, what do you think this number represents? It's not another rate because that's not what something is changing by. Yesterday we had the dollar for each hot dog. So for every hot dog you purchased, it went up by $1. Your total sales, and then the 50 cents for each soda. So that was also a rate. For every soda you sold, it went up by 50 cents. This is not a rate. This is a starting point. We're talking about an airplane here, and that airplane starts descending from 300,000 feet. So this is my starting point. Now, of course, we know the airplane doesn't start from 300,000 feet in the sky. It has to start like on the ground. But for the context of this problem, it began descending from 300,000 feet. So that's what we consider our starting point. So we can still identify the variables x and y. So x and y. In this situation, the variable x is tied to the rate. So 2,000 feet per minute is my rate. And so I can say that the values of x represent the number of minutes. So this is the number of minutes. And my y value, unlike yesterday, where it represented the number of something, today the y value represents the height. And we can say the height above the ground. And so my equation, I would like to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So we should know that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is my rate or my slope, and the b is my y-intercept. So this is my slope So this M is my slope, this B is my y-intercept. So one of these two numbers has to be the slope and the other number has to be the y-intercept. So I can write the equation y equals, my rate was 2,000, but it's negative because we're descending. So negative 2,000 and then x plus the 300,000 feet that we are above the ground already, where we're starting from. So my slope and my y-intercept. So just like yesterday, I want to take this information and I want to use it to fill out this table down here. So we can approach that the same way we did yesterday. We know what x represents, we know what y represents, so let's go ahead and fill that in the table. The value of x represented the number of minutes. So number of minutes. And y represents the height above the ground. So I'm just going to put height, and this is in feet. And then we can get our points the same way we get our points before. So go to your calculator and home. So always go home, then number 1 for new document. And if it asks you to save it, no. In this case, it didn't ask me to save it because I already cleared the calculator. And I want to add a graph. And you can type this in 2 different ways. Here, this says y equals. So since it says y equals, and we know that y is the same as f of x, or it's the same as, function notation, then we can easily type in that right here, f1 of x equals. So in here, I can type in my slope-intercept form equation. Yesterday, we had to hit delete because it was not in the form of y equals and it did not say f of x. So here, I can type that in. So negative 2,000 x plus 300,000. So make sure we have the proper number of zeros and then enter. Just like yesterday, nothing is showing up because the numbers are too large. But when we hit menu, trace, and then graph trace, so 5 and then number 1, then it starts to show up. Now, because the numbers are so large, it looks like a vertical line. It's really not. It's just a very large starting point. And so that's making the scale of the graph looks close to the y-axis, when in fact, as you go down, it moves away. So then we can start to fill out that table. So we're already on the y-intercept. And if we go back to our table, the y-intercept value from here, it looks different than we're used to seeing it. This is in scientific notation. So it's a 3 with 5 zeros behind it. And if that is confusing to you, there's actually another way you can get the points that we really have not talked about in class. And I'm going to show it here. And so this only works when you type it in as not a relation. So when you enter in the function or enter in the equation into the f of x option, you can look at the table. And to pull up the table, you can hit Control and T. So a table pulls up. It's no longer in scientific notation on this side. And the downside is that you'll have to scroll instead of just typing in the numbers like before. So now I see that the y-intercept is 0 and 300,000. So I can go back and put 0 and 300,000. And then my next value, if I want to get to 44, I can't just type in 44 like I would on the graph. I actually have to scroll down to 44. Now you can hold down the button and it will scroll down pretty quickly. You just don't have to punch the button or do anything that would damage the calculator. So 44 is going to be 212,000. And I'll let you complete the rest. So this you should be able to do. That's not something that is going to be difficult for you. The slope, we already have that. The y-intercept, we already have that from the equation. The 0 you will have to find. So hopefully you are remembering, because we are discussing this every single day, that the 0 is the x-intercept. And then to write the function, just like yesterday, I want to write the function in the form of f of x. So my function is going to be in the form of f of x equals mx plus b. And so we already have this somewhere else on our paper. You just have to replace the slope and the y-intercept. So you should be able to complete that. Once you finish this part, please answer the question at the bottom. So please answer these questions down here before you answer the questions, before you go to the backside and work on the soccer practice. If you have any trouble with understanding any of this information, then you need to be asking for help. Don't just sit there clueless. Ask for help. Or rewatch the video. That's what the video is for.